I'll call this work session to order. It's a joint work session of the City Council and PACAB, and there's some excited people here tonight, apparently. I'm going to ask if PACAB members, could you turn your name things around, because you know who you are, but that way, just in case there's people, they always do that wrong, so it's not your fault, but that just is helpful.
There we go.
You see, now we know who's here. That's Bruce Jaffa. Would you call roll, Mr. Clerk, please?
So, call roll for council first.
Okay.
Calhoun is excused. Osenga.
Here.
Warner.
Here.
Draper.
Here.
Barnwell.
Here.
Kreitz.
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
At council, you have a quorum. And PACAB. Groom.
Here.
It looks like Melissa is gone. Jaffa.
Here.
Atwood.
Here.
And Regis.
Here.
Okay, PACAB has a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So the purpose of this meeting initially is to just have a discussion between PACAB and council about priorities that PACAB has in direction, and maybe modifying some meeting schedules. That's something I have in my mind, but and tasking them with a few tasks. But also, it's been sort of morphed into, because there's so much interest in the uplands, hopefully, and I'm pretty sure there will be time to have some discussion about that, and there's some public here that perhaps wants to weigh in on it. So I'm going to be watching the clock like I do, and we have Harbor Master Tony here. Did you want to say anything before we get started, either you or the city manager?
No, we're good. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you for calling this meeting. Welcome, board members and public.
Okay, so I think Chair Jaffa, do you want to kick this off?
I'll kick off. I ask a question about what would be the standard rules do we have here? Is it a discussion, or will everything be through the chair?
Oh, just pretty much if you'll raise your hand, I guess I'll
Okay.
call on people, but it's not as formal as
Okay. So I provided through the clerk, a laydown which details last year's meetings, and if you look at that, we had 9 meetings scheduled. We did have a quorum for 6 of them. One of the major topics during that time was the heat pump incentive program, but we dealt with a lot of other things as well. And the intent of giving you this laydown is to show you kind of the broad sweep that PACAB does, what we do. Beyond that, and I don't know if you have that in a laydown, I did ask members of the board to provide their thoughts on priorities. Okay, you have that, good. And we had some similar views on things. There are some historic priorities that we've had that we had to prune down, of course. And under code, we have a fairly broad mandate. So if council has something else that they'd like to add to that, it would probably fit in. For instance, commercial development, which is something that is very important, and it goes beyond just the harbor. But it's in the title of Port and Commerce. So I don't know that we have not filled in the spaces on the coming meetings. We have, I think, 3 more meetings before our hiatus, our planned hiatus, and there's some discussion that it may not be mandatory that we're gone the whole period of time. If something comes up, we're certainly available to meet. So for tonight's meeting, I'm hoping that council could give us maybe something that's a burning issue that you'd like us to dig into a little bit more, because the PACAB opportunity does have a little bit different opportunity than, maybe I said it twice, than a council meeting. And we do get attendance from people who sometimes are a little more willing in a casual environment to discuss some of their things. Although we have had some people come in irate in the past about harbor rates, we don't see that too much anymore. So actually, Mayor, if there's something that you would like us to focus on, we can start with that. I think you'll see that there's a number of topics here, including hydropower and things over at the 4th of July development, as well as Board Member Regis brought up something that has really not had enough attention, and that's the bycatch agenda. Just as an aside, for an upcoming meeting, I hope to have some of the people in the commercial fish industry come and present to PACAB. And what I'm learning is the industry is a lot worse than I thought it was. I had somehow, I was just telling Board Member Atwood that I thought that the fishing industry was a bulwark of the Seward economy. It's trouble. And I don't know what can be done about it, but we should be at least aware of it. And I see the Hubbards are here, and they certainly know more about it than I do, but that's one thing that we could pay attention to, and other things as well. Some of these things will fall under other things we're looking at, the higher uplands in different places. For instance, how do you get from the new dock, which is really going gangbusters, how do you get from there comfortably, safely downtown? You walk along the road, you're already seeing people out on the road. If the weather's bad, there's a problem. We need to really pay attention to that. If we want to bring in a 5,000 passenger boat and flood those people on the street, we don't have buses for all those folks. So there's going to be a mass of people in the street, and that needs to be thought about. Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I'm looking for. How about the rest of you guys? Any input? Or, yeah, Norm?
Yeah, so the things that I wrote down, of course, the bycatch is huge. It's been on, I've been, as harbor master, we're dealing with it, and as all the harbor masters around the state, it's a big thing. I think something can be removed from our list of, like the sewer treatment options. I know they've been working on that. I just don't think we need to go on that anymore. And I'm pretty sure that harbor master will give us a new update on the 50-ton travel lift. The SMIC rules, and I think we need to raise the storage rates. We're the lowest around anywhere. You can look all the places that have stored boats. We are really low. So, and I think after a vessel stays 1 year, it needs to be, I know it's already being raised, but it needs to be raised more. Get these people in and out. The yard's a working yard, not a storage yard. So, and then at the entrance of the harbor for the uplands parking, we got to be careful. We got to work with the Corps of Engineers. You can't put something in there that has certain lights at the entrance of the harbor. You can have a boat. That was a big thing when the harbor was built. When they did the extension, that's why there's no lights on the monument, the memorial there. So, and I'd like to move our legislative priorities into September so we can get them done, so you can have them approved. We'll have them approved so you guys can approve, or put them in your legislative priorities. Pretty much it. Yeah, I think I said the parking in the uplands. So that's a big one too, because when we built that launch ramp, we have to maintain so many parking spots for boats and trailers per the agreement we signed with the state. So that's for 20 years. So we can figure out what those spots are, but from what was designed, we're good right now. So, but when you put those, if you put buildings there, then you got to take away some spots. So you got to make sure you maintain those enough parking spots. So that's what I got.
That's why it's good you're on PACAB.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I might
Dwayne.
speak for a minute. So I'm, just to follow up on Jeff's comments about the logistical challenges that might, present themselves with our upcoming cruise season. And I am, of course, thinking about our pedestrian corridor through Port Avenue, and I know administration's already working on that. So I'm looking forward to those meetings and learning more about what we can both do, meaning the Alaska Railroad and the municipality. And I think we have some good things in the works there. Other things I was curious about is, I'd mentioned as potential topics, hydro energy, but also fisheries, which is a concern. I just saw something in November that fishing jobs are down for the 5th consecutive year, and what do we do as a community? Fortunately, we have job retraining opportunities. We have a vocational school, so that's a benefit. But I think that this body would benefit from having commercial fisher a voice on this panel. I know people, of course, volunteer for this body, but that's something that I've been thinking about as of late. And of course, there are other sectors that we could, if we were to draw upon folks in the public, whether it was from lodging or retail or vessel services or even construction trades. Anyway, just to get those ideas. And but more broadly, though, of course, we're interested in what council is interested in. So.
All of that.
Having said that.
Yeah. Okay. Jesse?
Well, these guys have some really great ideas. The only ones that I could maybe add to it is the railroad freight dock expansion. And I know that I'd like to better understand too a little bit more about how the battery is going to work at the cruise ship terminal to help power Seward and the substation that's getting put in.
Maybe a report, you're looking for more information.
Just more information,
Yeah.
just maybe some more. And I know there's been presentations, and I'm sorry because I've been out of town on every single one of them.
So
And I
maybe,
really apologize because I've been trying to get to them. But I think that's a great discussion for PACAB too. But always interested in what council has for us and what we can do for the council.
okay. So keep that in mind to give another presentation. Okay, council, do you have any comments, things you'd like to see or promote with them? Yeah. Councilman
So this is kind of a brainstorm session.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can throw things out there and you can laugh at me. and just
We
say,
could laugh,
I can take it.
we can.
There's a few things that may fit under your purview. Not only commercial fishing, but the sports fishing industry, I think, is in trouble. I think we need to, with the decrease in catch for halibut and the salmon issue, the silvers in particular, the coho, and we don't really know how much money we make off those fish. It's not just the sports fishing people, but it's a lot of private people coming down with big fancy boats that spend a lot of money here. And I don't think we've never, well, maybe we have an idea of what that is, how valuable that is to our community. I know that the chamber has struggled to fund the smoke program. Not only that, Coquitlam Aquaculture had a massive die-off recently, and we don't even know if we're going to have smoke coming into the bay this year, I think it is. Which means next year already we might have a serious lack of fish. That's one. Cruise ship industry, I'm really fascinated by, I think there's a lot of people in this town have expressed frustration with the over-tourism, and we don't know what that means. We know that tourism is really important for our community. It's fundamental to our economy. We gave an 8% raise to our employees this year based on cruise ship, on tourism. But we really don't know the value of each tourism. It'd be interesting to break down the value of tourists versus independent versus cruise ship, and then even cruise ships breaking those down. These big guys are coming in. How valuable are these big guys to us per tourist on those ships? And trying to kind of just tease that data out. I don't know if you can even. that's one thing I'm really interested in. On that same note, I'll just keep going, sorry, but I have...
We know.
On that same note, I've been talking to the chamber, but, and I know that Stephanie has started a group of tourist kind of watch group, sorry,
Destination Stewardship Committee.
Thank you, Destination Stewardship Committee. And that one's kind of trying to figure out our voice in the city and how we can encourage smart tourism. So we're not just saying all tourists come here, all cruise ships come here. We have to just think carefully about that because we're so dang popular anymore that I think we can be selective. And so how do we do that? I think it's a huge question mark. Finally, I'm almost done. I think I am almost done. Traffic at Low Point, I think that road's just excessively, there's a lot of traffic on there. There's danger with landslides on that thing. Maybe it's time we start thinking about some sort of encouraging some sort of ferry system over into Low Point.
Like Marco's
Yeah.
water taxi.
Yeah, but maybe even bigger. I don't know. But I know that the guide companies over there are struggling with that. Parking is going to be a bigger and bigger issue. So maybe we need to start getting ahead of that and thinking through that. So those are my 2 cents, 3
Wow.
cents.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
Mayor, one of the things that we hope to do, just to be clear, is take your ideas today and get them on our agenda for the March 18th meeting, at least what it is. So that would officially establish our priorities. And so they can be worked on some more. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, this is exactly what we want to hear, we need to hear.
Jesse.
Just listening to him talk got me thinking. Trying to figure out how much each tourist spends in our town is something that we have actually tried to wrap our heads around. We offload the cruise ships and we know how, they give us jobs, so we know how vital they are. And it's hard to figure out, but I can give you like a ratio of people per boat that are independents versus get on a bus and drive right out of town. But another idea for PACAB might be how to utilize the head tax money. I know other towns, other ports are getting creative and they're using that money. I know there was a lawsuit in Juneau, but there's creative ways to use it and it's there to be used. So I think it's just getting people together to talk about it and how to use that money that benefits this town. So.
That would be a good thing for you guys to discuss. Have a dock person. Yeah, Norm.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to touch upon a few of those things there. So I know that Low Point issue is huge, but I know that part of the project, the tunnel project, they were looking at putting up a road up and around everything. I'm not sure if that's still there or not. It might be, I don't know. And then Jesse also mentioned about the lawsuit from Juneau. That was because they purchased land with the cruise ship money. As long as we're dealing with cruise ship passengers, the money can be used for it in any harbor infrastructure. So, roads, stuff, sidewalks, that can be used for it. And so on the smolt issues with the thing, I know, Mayor, you can tell me if I'm going the wrong way here because I know you got it on your agenda tonight. The chamber funding, maybe a portion of that could go to adding more smolt, salmon smolt for the salmon derby as part of the funding that you're going to give the chamber. So, throwing that out there.
Good idea. Yeah, Casey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I don't know, I was gonna save this for a different time tonight, but PACAB is currently taking recommendations for the comprehensive economic development strategy, and I'm just wondering if maybe PACAB would be able to engage a little bit in what that process is with PACAB and really just utilizing the services that they do. They are much larger, they're for our entire region, but they do service, and I know they do really great work in that office. So they have the public comment periods currently open, deadline's March 7th. But I'm wondering if PACAB could maybe engage a little bit in that process with them.
Councilmember Warner, we have tried to engage KPED, and I've asked council, even the chamber at the last meeting, their relation with KPED, and they do have some. But I did know some of the people. I think Jeff Hetrick may be the local representative for KPED, and we could probably ask him to come talk to us.
Jason is also on the KPED board.
Who is?
Jason Bickling.
Okay.
So if that was
That's
something we,
even closer.
yeah. And then on that subject, the KPED Industry Outlook Forum will be in Seward this year, so that's something that we could work with PACAB on and making sure that some members attend or have some interaction or potentially ask Cassidy Cameron to come speak to PACAB.
Do you know the dates approximate, right off the top of your
No,
head?
I do not off the top
Or
of my
the
head.
month, even, it's usually
No,
like,
I don't even.
you probably do.
Yeah, it's April.
Okay.
But I do know that they have been struggling with finding a large enough space to be able to host that type of event here in Seward. It's been a little while since I've spoken with them on where they are in progress with that.
Okay, but if you can keep us informed. Other council thoughts?
I'm going to throw something out there. Workforce development, whether the industries in town are having trouble keeping their workforce up, and what are the barriers there? I know it might be housing, and education. Those things kind of fall in there, and I know that's probably straying quite a bit from your mission, but it really is an important issue, so I'm going to throw that one out there.
Okay.
Also super interested in the commercial fishing. I'd like to hear it. I'm hearing that there's trouble, but I'd like to have details and maybe some kind of report on commercial fishing.
Anything that you want to add?
Actually, two more.
Go ahead.
No, I got a brainstorm. I'm not going to volunteer. I'm pretty good brainstorm.
That's exactly it.
Juana's 3rd Avenue. I know we had talked about trading 3rd for Nash in terms of maintenance, and
I never heard.
oh, I heard somewhere from that.
Okay,
It's a great
The
idea.
state owns both of us.
Yeah, the state, the state,
I know they do.
State trade.
But could we trade that? Could we own 3rd? Well, why not? Why not maintain 3rd? You know what I mean? Why are we maintaining Nash and they're maintaining 3rd, and we don't have a very...
We're not maintaining, can I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it.
We're not maintaining Nash Road.
I knew someone was going out.
We're not maintaining Nash Road. 3rd Avenue is a state highway.
Yeah.
So,
Right, I know.
state highway,
I get
we're
that.
not maintaining, Nash Road starts at the bottom of the hill, that's where the city line is.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the hill going up and around, that's the only thing the city does. Now, my suggestion there is somehow,
I knew there was something.
yeah, because, our city crews do a great job. When they go over to SMIC, they're not supposed to put the blade down. And you see people, they see a city truck going over there with the blade up and it needs to be plowed. Maybe make some kind of an arrangement with the state, the city can put the blade down going over across. Because they go over there to do the road because they have to maintain the road for the prison. But they can't do Nash Road unless if they have some kind of agreement with the state. Just throwing that out.
It's complicated. There's,
Yeah.
It's not easy fix.
It's just talking with the state DOT, and see what they can come up with.
I would request that one not be put on the agenda so that we can communicate with the public works. Yeah. Roads and stuff, I want to make sure that Doug and DOT representatives are aware, but good brainstorming as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's it, actually.
okay, Casey?
Yes,
Don't
thank you,
need to say
Madam Mayor
no.
McClure. Somewhere in conversations that I've been having over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of information. I wanted somebody maybe can correct me on this. Valdez, I believe, has some type of nonprofit arm somewhere where they are doing the whole salmon life cycle, which supports their salmon derby there, and they've been doing they've been doing a great job from what I understand. So I don't know if that's something that we could be exploring when we're talking about the fishery and whether that's commercial or sports fishing, but maybe looking and see what Valdez is doing in that space to kind of boost that a little bit.
through the mayor. Are you talking about Resurrection Bay or something larger than Resurrection Bay?
I just was told, I'm pretty sure it's Valdez. Where we do it on this side, I don't know. There's somebody that knows
Yeah.
more information than I do. But it sounds like whatever they're, I'm gonna keep saying Valdez because it's stuck in my head whether that's the right community. It is Valdez.
It is Valdez,
Okay, it
yeah.
is Valdez. Whatever they're doing with that full salmon life cycle has really been working for them. So can we explore something like that here? Is it Resurrection Bay? Is it greater? I just don't know that.
Your list
Through
gets
the mayor,
longer. This is good.
I'm trying to get a representative from the fishing industry.
Right.
And I've got a couple calls that have gone to nobody. So this is, and I'll continue doing that, but I'll find somebody. I do have, Mark Clemens has agreed to speak to us in March. He has a broad understanding of the industry, and there may be others as well, but I think it's, we can find that model and work with that. Thanks.
Excellent, yes.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Kind of looking at what we've written down so far and talked about so far, they do seem to fall into some categories with overarching themes. Fisheries, both commercial and recreational, tourism, both harbor and throughout town, and then general SMIC harbor area. So I was thinking maybe we could talk about them more cohesively as themes so that you guys can have topics for the meetings as we move forward. Looking at the next PACAB meeting in February, we'll have Assistant or Deputy City Manager Jason Biffing will be presenting on the South Uplands improvements, which definitely seems to be a theme that we hear throughout, which is exciting. But then maybe moving forward from that, looking at cruise ship flow traffic. You know, it's definitely something that I know Vice Chair Atwood mentioned that we've been working on for a while, but it's also one of those big things that is really hard from an administrative point of view to figure out where to start. Every time I walk from the harbor to the cruise ship terminal, I find a new sign that is pointing the wrong way or just shouldn't be there. So if I could personally task PACAB with going down and walking that and telling me how many bad signs you see, that would be great. But thinking through of like, it's more theme oriented, and then from there, admin and PACAB, we can work together to figure out what those themes fall under and what people would maybe be good to come communicate with PACAB, and go from there. That's my recommendation.
Okay. Well, my big push was to have you guys right away get started looking at the Uplands plans and hearing from people, because it's a good forum at your meetings for people to come and talk. It's just another forum, and we've gotten, at least I've gotten a lot of input from the public on what they want up there, what they don't want up there, and it would be good to have another place or discussion. So in line with what the city manager said, that would be a good place to start, which we will discuss a little bit tonight anyway. Yeah.
Could you just speak a little further on that? Are we talking about something broad, like, you know, uses of property? Are we digging in on parking? I mean, what is?
Well, it would be whatever you feel, but you've seen the plan, and the only thing that's for sure in there is we're going to get the new harbor master building. Beyond that, I know what some people want with the bike path all the way around, and some people want shops facing the harbor, and some people don't, and some people want more parking than it shows, and some people want less, and a discussion amongst you, but also I'm thinking the public could weigh in that presentation, so you could do some of the heavy lifting for us, because ultimately a decision will be made, but it's a while. So that to me is one of them. We've listed, where did I just, the Uplands cruise ship traffic flow, and I'm not sure about getting the tourism data, but if that's something that, even just if it was a discussion, that would be an interesting
Madam Mayor, it's actually coincidental that at the last meeting, I did ask the chamber about some of that information. It is the Councilmember Barnwell mentioned, it's kind of hard to separate some of these things. But it's not impossible, because the council does, or the chamber does do some surveys. But merchants who sell T-shirts and other things also have a real good handle
Right, that's
on who's coming and going. And talking to some of them, maybe even directly. If Dorothy Ervac was still here, she could probably spit out the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
But I think there'll have to be some windage. No matter what numbers you take, it's not going to be absolute solid. But it'd be enough to give you an idea and direction that you want to go. And I would caution that if any of these tax issues that we talk about, need to remember the previous example we had here with head tax and the Whittier boat tax, and the going back and forth with they wouldn't tie up here because the tax was too high. They went to Whittier cut their throat, coming back to Seward, so need to be very careful with that.
And then also fisheries as a topic. And fisheries, I'm throwing that out real generally, but we've gotten a little more specific on commercial and tourism and recreational, yeah.
Mayor, if I might, I think we've got great ideas, and Manager Sorensen was able to zero down on blending some of these things together. So we do have some line item things we work at. I would ask a direct question of the council, two things. We have spent a lot of time with heat pump activity, and not the library heat pump, but heat pump rebates. With the potential changes in the city electric, however that our city electric department works, is that something you would like us to continue, or is it something we should, I would like to continue it, but I don't want to do it if there's a grand plan that would conflict with that, number one. And number two, is there any interest in PACAB spending any time looking at the electric utility?
Council? Yeah, Lori.
I'll weigh in on the heat pump. I know that Taylor Crucker has been actively looking at a heat pump rate with a special meter for heat pump users. So I know that is happening. And as far as the electrical utility, I think, yes, I would like another set of eyes on that personally, you know,
In what capacity? What would you think?
Well, I know that Bruce is a regular attendee of the town hall meetings, and he's keeping up on that, but when it comes time to make this big decision that the community's gonna make, I'd like PACAB's, take on where they like to see it go.
So maybe,
I'll just add, on the heat pump topic, one of the recently passed resolutions includes a rate study, and in that we included navigating and including a heat pump rate. And so from an administrative standpoint, it's on the radar. It's just something that we're trying to work in with the progress of new meters, rate study, and the new financial setup of the electric department. So from an administrative standpoint, kind of piecing all those together so that we can bring forward a well-cohesive package that includes heat pump rates would be our preference, rather than putting the heat pump rate ahead and then having to figure out how to work it into the rate study afterwards.
so you're thinking to hold off, for them to hold on?
Yeah, but as we bring forward
Right.
future topics on that, or communicate the rate study results, that can be brought forward if that's at the behest.
Which brings up into my mind the other thing that I wanted to mention is we need more communication with PACAB and council. That's why Bruce and I decided to have this. But it wouldn't hurt to get together more often, or at least communicate more often, because I think we've not done enough of that. And also get reports from you guys on, I know most of us watch the meetings at some point, but, just so we can be in communication on these things. Yeah.
I am really supportive of the heat pump. I'm really glad you guys have worked on that, and I've followed the utilities, actually, they're working on that, which is, I think, great. On the utility in general, in terms of where we're going, that timeline seems to be pretty fast right now. We're gonna have to make decisions fairly soon, I think. Okay.
I think there's an agenda.
So currently, we're doing our town halls, we have the 3rd. Moving forward, we're looking at a 4th town hall, potentially a 5th. Send out another survey to see how the community engages it. But the reality is any decisions or anything that we make is on the timeline that the community sets.
Okay.
So I think we don't have any deadlines to do anything, so we're navigating it in a way that I hope feels so that any decisions brought to council or made by council feels well-informed and not rushed at all. So that would be our intent from an administrative standpoint through this whole town hall process.
So I guess just follow up on that.
Yeah.
Especially after the town hall last week. It seems to be there's 3 options coming down the pike. We either sell it and/or we form a co-op, or we form an authority of some sort. So we keep it as a municipality and an authority, or a subgroup, not the council managing the utility, which I'm all in favor of. I've said that pretty vocally in every meeting, that I don't think we're specialists in the utility department. And I think we'd be better served to have a subgroup, kind of like you guys as a subgroup or a background. But the problem I see is trying to find interested people and how that would be set up so that it was dynamic, that it drew the right type of people in, and didn't just get to be a subgroup of say Taylor ran it. You would want a fairly strong group that could manage that. So like if we started looking, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but at least trying to look at, okay, what would that look like, and do we have people that are interested in that kind of position, and how do we represent all the way up into mile 23 or whatever we're at? Just throwing that out there, that would be an interesting.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Barnwell, I believe there are models out there to look at, but I believe that everyone is trying to be so neutral this go-round, so that there's, I hate the word transparency, but everybody knows what's going on, and that there's not a tipping of the scale. I have my preference. Every one of you may have your preference. Expressing them in a discussion makes a lot of sense, but I don't think we're anywhere near making a decision yet.
No, I don't think we are either. I'm just thinking of getting ahead of the game a little bit in terms of could we actually come up with a group of working people in the community? Is that feasible?
I think it is.
Okay.
It doesn't take a brainiac. I work with too many PEs, and I realize you don't have to be a PE to be good.
However, yeah, that would probably be a council.
I could add, Madam Mayor, what if when we bring, one of the culminations of a lot of the town halls and things that we're hoping from an administrative standpoint and electric department standpoint to have is a second survey, and then bringing forward a package of all the information that we've gleaned from this transparent, open process. And maybe in that journey, we not only present it to council, but we also present it to PACAB to make sure that that's conversation is had not just once, but twice, not just at 7 p.m., but at noon, and look down the line for when that does come forward and we do have that information, we can bring it to as many different avenues as possible.
We can certainly provide something to vet it.
Yep, exactly.
Without, and as an advisory group, there would be no pronouncement coming from that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I always love a good, doing a presentation 2 or 3 times too. I get really good at it by the 3rd time.
So, anything else right now?
I'd like to revisit just a minute. This process is going to take a while, and in the meantime, some of the heat pump incentive programs could save ratepayers many hundreds of dollars. And because we are locally controlled, putting it on, taking it off is no big deal. If council were to adjust rates in the interim without the rate study, and then decide later they wanted to do it or undo it, we're really at the point at PACAB where we've had Citizen Calusa give us a tremendous amount of input, and we could write a resolution that we could vote on and pass it to council. I'd like you to tell us tonight whether to quit wasting our time.
Sorry.
Yes, John.
I would almost endorse what the city manager said, which is to wait, kind of, we can put this all together all at once in one fell swoop after a rate study. And I mean, I understand what you're saying, that we can implement it and then take it off or whatever, that we can do that, but I'm kind of the thought that once you put something in and you try to take it back out, then you have an uproar, or someone's getting something that doesn't exactly work for the city, but does our ratepayers really well, and then we have to take it out, put it back in, kind of chaotic. But that's just my thought.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it stepwise, personally. I mean, just hold off a little bit, you know? Does anyone else, I mean, if you did present something, we'd have to discuss it, but, yeah, Nora.
Yeah, so I know that Mr. Calusa has a lot of data out there, and I know I think he shared it with the electric department already, so all that can go towards the, I lost my train of thought there. Towards the rate study. So I said that the last meeting, I think we should wait, but, you know, he can share his data, I'm pretty sure he already has, so I think that will help with them doing their rate studies.
I'm seeing a nod over there, yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Helps.
One more comment on that. I mean, I don't know if everyone's aware, but there's a federal grant program right now for personal heat pumps up to $8,500 for individuals to get heat pumps that are kind of driving part of that too. I don't know how long those grant funds will last. But.
One of the things I wanted to discuss, but I think I resolved it, is do you think monthly meetings are too much? And you seem, we've given you a whole lot of stuff to talk about now, so are you guys still, as a group, happy with your schedules? Like you take the summer off and then you have the monthly meetings? Are you, give me some input on that.
Well, I'm not sure that I can represent a consensus view. It's clear that the initial, or for years, that the hiatus was due to the people who were serving on the board were also commercial fishermen.
Right.
And weren't available in the summer. That's changed a little bit. For myself, I don't take off the summer or the winter necessarily, one or the other, doesn't matter to me. But I don't know if you wanted to poll each member and ask them.
Well, or it could be something you discuss amongst yourselves.
We can do that.
I mean, if you would.
It's in code right now.
Right.
It's in the city code. So we would have to go through a procedure other than special meetings. And
Right.
you can call special meetings.
You can do that anytime, yeah.
But it may be, if council views PACAB as a viable and important board, that it is in fact a year-round activity.
Okay. I mean, there's two extremes here. We could go to just quarterly, or we could do, you know, year-round, and I don't know how the rest, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there now, but I think we're developing a really good group of people here with a variety of interests and expertise, so.
We have another one coming aboard tonight.
Yeah, well, yeah, anyway. So we just need one more, you know. Any feelings from council on this at all? I know it's kind of, just something to keep in mind then.
I think they should meet once a week.
Okay, well, it's only 6:15 and we got a bunch of people sitting out there, and I think some of them would like to speak to something, so would that be okay with you guys if I, you know, we just take show of hands and, oh, there's a mic to pass. So, I mean, we were going to discuss something about, let me just preface, it doesn't have to relate to the uplands, I mean, but it should relate somehow to PACAB and their issues, because that's the point of tonight, okay? I mean, this work session. So, with that said.
I'll kick this off.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, I have really been overwhelmed with the number of people who have contacted me on this harbor uplands. we've been looking at this for quite a long while and reviewing last year's minutes. We've been looking at this for quite a while, and there's been some development. And it certainly, at the last meeting, you passed a resolution to support funding for this. I'm not sure whether that got a lot of attention or not, but I think you really need to listen to people who have experience, who are not paid engineers, who are users of the facility and residents of the community. I don't think there's been enough in this plan of their views.
Well, this is why we're having another chance or multiple chances. Excuse me, before that.
Well, I was just gonna ask, if he thinks that the planning was, because we approved the plan for the harbor master building. We haven't necessarily done the parking lot and everything else.
So we haven't approved any final plans. We just, we approved R&M moving forward with the final design and funding for the project entirely. So, for the whole thing. So the fund, for the, not the funding for...
No, but the design.
Yeah, so we didn't approve the final design though.
No, but you approved $900,000.
For the funding for the final design. Exactly. So that's the next part of this phase is communicating and working on that final design.
Thank you. And that's good to clarify. But that's why we need multiple sources of input on this, not just from the loudest squeaky wheels, but even the softer squeaky wheels, you know. So, okay, go ahead, Al. You've got the mic.
Hi, my name is Elle Zernia. I live outside city limits, but I do have a fishing company in the harbor, along with my husband, and I own one of the buildings that currently does have a lease on the current boardwalk. I guess, and I think that a lot of us would agree, we just feel like there should be more conversation and more planning around the impact that potentially adding lease spaces up on this harbor uplands will have to the rest of the user group that already exists. Particularly parking and access. There's not enough parking as it is. By the look of the plan in the packet, it appears that we're taking some of the camping down on the lower uplands. I've heard mention of using Boulder Field, taking that camping away. We've mentioned that might be some small loss of camping over at the rec camp with new fire station, which we desperately need. Fully support the harbor master's office. But if we take away camping to give it to parking, then we're losing camping as well. And if we're losing camping, the main people using that camping are usually local Alaskans. Those people coming down from Anchorage, coming over from the other peninsula, coming up from the interior. They're bringing their RV down, they're bringing their boat down. They're spending the weekend. They're coming down to recreate in their state. And I just feel like we need to be very, very thoughtful about what we're taking away from current user groups just to create more user groups and not have enough resources for everybody. It kind of feels like I don't know, like the Lorax speaking for the trees. Speaking for the parking. So I just encourage us to really look at those plans and figure out the best way to navigate that. I'm really all for any of the meetings in the future that we could all have where we could give more input. Also concerned, if we come to a consensus that no, it's going to be buildings and that's just the way it's going to be, what's the size of those buildings? What do they look like? Are they going to be 3 stories high at the maximum height limit? Are they going to be 1 story? Are we going to allow 9 little ones versus allowing a huge building that's going to have a lot of employees and a lot of parking taking up? Those kinds of things are things that I just hope we can have conversations about in the future.
Okay, thanks. Just raise your hand if you would, yeah.
I've got the mic, so I get...
Well, that's perfect.
No, my name is Sue Ward, and I live inside city limits, and I have a sailboat and have had for about the last 15 years in the harbor. It's currently at N22, which is on those docks. I pay a nice fee to put my boat there. I have one access point in order to access my boat. The other thing is my boat, even though it's used for private use, I sail, my kids sail, but it's also leased to a business, Resurrection Bay Charters. And those 3 boats, they run sailing charters all summer. And so you're not just looking at boat owners, you're looking at Madrona can probably hold 5 people, Encore 5 people, my boat at least 4. So you're looking at, just because there's 3 boats, there might be 5 cars parking in the parking lot to access. And I look at the plans, and I applaud. I think the Harbor Master Office is well-deserved, and we need that. But we need parking. And then the other thing is you look at the boat ramp. Pulling a trailer after you've dropped your boat off the ramp. Now you've got to be able to access parking, and there is quite, if you've been down there in the summer, there's quite a bit of trailer parking. It takes the whole center of that section. So my concern is parking and accessing my boat. That's it. Pass it on.
Oh, we can do it that way, sure. If you don't want to speak, just...
Yeah.
Guess I'll take my turn here. Ben Smith, outside city limits, formerly on the PACAB board. Do miss you guys. So I did speak on this at the last council meeting where it was on the agenda, and I think it is parking. It's really access, right? It's can that facility be used for its intended purpose? And I think everybody I've talked to that uses the docks has expressed great concern about being able to get there. We do know how busy it is. I do not think that R&M came on a busy summer day. I think that would be a really good step for them to look at what that looks like when we have the entire fishing fleet from Anchorage down. You know, they all got their trailers. They're parking in the road because there's no place to park. Where are they going to go when, or if these spots are limited? Are they going to be forced out onto the streets, the side of the road? We're so busy in the summer, and I think that is an important thing to look at. And while I have the mic, if I could change topics back to heat pumps, I'll speak on the behalf of my employer, the Sea Life Center. I think there's been a little bit of confusion on our operations, and we should probably do a public statement on how we're using our heat pumps. But we are, in fact, using our original seawater heat pumps to heat the Sea Life Center, and that's an industrial user. It's different from, slightly different from a residential user, but we do support that as a way to help reduce carbon impacts and as an economical solution for heat. And I do encourage PACAB and the council to continue to look at heat pump rebates, and if possible, have an industrial heat pump rate too. I think there's other industries that could benefit from that. So at coldest December, I think, from my research since 2001. And we saved money this year by just operating smartly, so thanks for keeping that on the agenda.
Thanks.
My name's Tom Maurice. I live outside the city limits. And the Harbor Master building, in my opinion, if you would go south of the south parking lot, drive piling, you could put that building on piling. And you could have it near the harbor, near the parking, but not use the parking.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If you don't want to speak, just pass it along and it'll end up back over there.
Andy Wilder, Inside City Limits. I'm going to speak to a little different subject. It relates to the boat harbor, specifically the north end of the boat harbor, near Icicle, where the T-dock and the I-dock are. I'm a local commercial fisherman, and that area has, with the different changes in ownership with Icicle Seafoods to OBI to Silver Bay, there's less and less going on at that plant, and there's fisheries going on right now that you couldn't probably support to keep that large plant open, but there's fish buyers that want to get in here and buy product from local boats. And that area is turned into a storage yard for the salmon tenders that work 2 months a year, and they get in there when everybody else is out working, and they're tied up, and that's the only hard dock where you can drive a vehicle down, load fish, load gear, and there's very little space to work at because you have these summer tenders that are done in mid-August, and they come into the harbor, and a lot of them are out of town, and they tie up, and they're there till June next year. And I'm asking the harbor master and the council to re-look at the policies in that area. I mean, looking at the lease for Icicle Seafoods, they've got a year-round lease where they have preference for the docks, the whole horseshoe, and they're not even open. And so I think that, you know, you could look at maybe giving some other companies some preferential treatment to where there's some dock space available to where they could buy fish, they could operate. There's a loading zone in the harbor that's dedicated, it's right on the end of IDOC, and that has been used for transient, the harbor, because there's times when there aren't things going on in the harbor. And so they've used it for transient moorage, but now there's people that need to use that dock, and we've got a boat tied up there that's claiming he's in transient moorage, and it's the only actually dedicated loading zone in the harbor is that IDOC. And so I just ask that you take a look at your policies and maybe look at some of these leases that have been just kind of rubber stamped every year to Silver Bay, and maybe they don't need, since they're only open for business for a couple months a year now, maybe it's time to kind of look at things and change the policies and make it easier for some of these smaller operators that want to come to Seward and do business.
Thanks. If you don't want to speak, just pass it along. We've got a guy over here that does.
I'm Jim Robert, I live in the city limits, but there's a host of topics on the table here, and I don't know, to try to speak out right now would be pretty rough, but maybe I guess I will, one comment I will make is I did apply to PACAB 25, 30 years ago. My wife's giving me a dirty look now, but
There's one seat available.
at that time, there was one seat available. At that time, I was told they didn't want commercial fishermen were not the future of this town. And I'm just saying it, but, so my application didn't go through. So, anyway. But it's, when you look at the whole harbor area now, it's just turned into a strip mall. To me, it's trash. I mean, the view of the bay is gone. And then if you want to do the same thing to the south breakwater, you know, what's left? In the summertime, you got the beaches full of RVs, and you can see those in any parking lot in the country. But you can't see the bay anymore. So I think the harbor office part of it to me is okay, but the rest of it, when I look at potential lease areas, I look at all this, I guess you call it green belt, but how are you going to do snow removal around all that stuff in the wintertime? And then also the whole parking issue, the traffic flow, and everything. I question the whole design except for the harbor office part of it, actually. So, I don't know, I could come to a couple PACAB meetings, and I'd rather talk in that environment anyway.
Good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Hubbard. I'm the one that has to kick him in the side sometimes, so if he gets out of line, just tell me that. But anyway, following up with what Andy said, there is a movement in the fishing industry where there's been a lot of consolidation, but there's also been a lot of fishermen are wanting to do more direct marketing. And as you can see, Icicle needs a lot of, or I call it Icicle, what is this, changed hand 3 times, whatever, but it's OBI, Silver Bay now, so, yeah, so you could tell with that facility, it needs a lot of scale to meet the costs. It's an expensive plant to operate. And so, Andy's right that we're not getting full utilization out of that facility, the way the business models are shaping up now and the way the markets are. So it would be nice to be able to accommodate a little bit more competition and other buyers down there. So I'm all about that. And as far as the design plan, I'm glad that it's not completely set in stone yet, because I'm concerned about the flat roof. So I don't know if we should have flat roofs here. Right.
That's a point.
So I'm Eddie Wilram with Copper River Seafoods. We've been using the dock. It would be nice to figure out a way to allow us to come in, or other people to come in and operate safely and smoothly. We're here with Andy, actually buying fish from him. We've gotten quite a few other fishermen already starting to sign up with us. So ideally, we'd like to be able to figure out ways to make this a smooth transition. Hiring about 8 people locally, I'm trying to anyways. Yeah, just something I think that should be talked about how we do that.
Okay. So there's an idea for you, Bruce. Yeah. The whole fishery thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's John Hughes. I live out of town, but I'm co-owner of Aurora Charters, and I love the idea about the new harbor master. It's the old building. They need a new one. It's awesome. But I do have concerns about the lease sites. The market in the harbor is absolutely saturated. I was the second coffee shop on the block. There's a dozen now in the harbor alone. We got a dozen gift shops. We got 14 places to get food. And then we're going to take the last view away from the entire harbor that you can see, and it's already a parking lot, and that's basically how you can see the harbor unless you travel through our buildings and stuff like that. So, like I said, I think we're already talking about more discussion. It's definitely needed, and just thinking that there's better uses for that. One of the things I came up with was a pavilion. We lost one of our pavilions. It'd be really cool to have a pavilion up there where somebody could bring their family, have an event, cook barbecue, and just look at the beautiful vista that we have, right there in the harbor or whatnot. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I think there's better options than leasing those plots out.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Yeah, Micah.
I'm Micah, and I have a few ideas. The harbor uplands, I just think we need to have, once the final engineering work starts, more public input meetings. Clearly there's a need for that, planning opportunities. In terms of the business sites, I don't know if we do put them in. Can you put in a caveat that it's a year-round business, that they're open year-round? Or I'd hate for that to become, I drove out Homer Spit recently, and it's just a ghost town, and I don't want Seward to become like that. And then I'm a huge fan of pathways. I walk that area so much. I love to be able to walk along the waterfront, and the plan as it is to have a pathway and some green space, I think, is very important for our community. So many people walk 2 lakes and they walk that waterfront year-round, and to have that there. I love the idea in the drawings of a little fishing step down and the pavilion. I think we need to do more for those of us who live here year-round that's accessible. And exactly. And for Port and Commerce, generally, I really would love to see more, there's a lot of conversation here, more focus on commercial fishing and not just tourism. So I love that. And then I love Lori's idea of really looking into workforce development and how does our education system mix in with that? And how can we have this, here's Port and Commerce, and we have the Chamber of Commerce, and we're looking at increasing their contract with the city and economic development. So maybe we could build some sort of liaison between our Chamber of Commerce and the Port and Commerce, who are specifically focused on economic development. And I'd love to see that kind of partnership grow. And that's all.
Anybody else? You don't have to speak back there. Okay. We could bring that. Well, thank you. I just really wanted people to have a chance, and that's part of the joy of work sessions. We can't really vote on anything or decide anything, but we can communicate, and I think that's really, really important. But We've still got a little time, so Bruce, you like to talk, what else you got?
I'll save some of it for the council meeting.
Oh, great. No, do you have any closing?
Well, I'm really happy to serve on this board, if we can be productive and help the city of Seward. And over the years, as I've said before, some of the people who have shared this and sat on the board have been movers and shakers in the town and have had a vision of where we want to go. I think that's the important thing, is that you guys deal a lot with day-to-day activity. The manager brings you, we got to buy a new truck. That's today. But the reason we have a problem with parking anywhere is because people 15, 20 years ago helped build the commerce in this city to the point where, and I have pictures that show that uplands overflowing with cars.
Oh, yeah.
And the numbers don't square, quite frankly, between the R&M survey and even the permitted spaces from the city comprehensive plan doesn't square with what's actually sitting there. I have heard different tallies between 47 and 54% loss of parking with this plan.
Well, this is why we need to get deeper.
But I don't think it's without hope. I think there are real possibilities. I think that personally, I think you need to focus on what's most important. And people talk about, you come to Seward because of Resurrection Bay. Sure, they come to visit people, but Resurrection Bay and the beauty of the mountains and the bounty of the sea and all that business, and to choke it off with buildings, it seems to be a little bit counterproductive. So maintaining that while doing the other stuff tends to make sense. I mean, everything is a trade-off to some degree. But I mean, you've heard people talk about commercial interests and visual interests and cultural impact, and I think it can all find a common ground somewhere. But maybe, I remember when the Corps of Engineers was forced to redo that uplands, and there was not this grand vision of what we're talking about today when they did that. It was just a place, a pole, actually to dump snow. That was the vision. But I'll go ahead and throw this out. I was going to save it for a council meeting, but one of the things that has become clear to me in the last week, 2 weeks, that people have been calling me and talking to me about this and bringing me information, is that this is the same problem we had downtown. This is what anybody wants. If parking is a problem, that's because business is good. Okay, what you don't want to do is choke off future business. So if you reduce the parking, not only are you limiting the number of people that can come in there, you're hurting the existing people. So if parking is the problem, let's pay attention to the parking. There are 2 flat lots between the lagoon and 4th Avenue, that could stand a 2-story garage. It sounds crazy, but I went to Providence Hospital the other day and went up a 4-story building in an earthquake zone, 5-story building. So it's perfectly feasible to build a 2-story parking garage where you could have campers on the top and cars on the bottom. You're doubling your parking. Yeah, it's expensive, but this is what you look at, is where I went to Lincoln Electric years ago, a company that makes welding machines, and Jim Lincoln, the son of the founder, had a program called incentive management. And what he taught was, you find the log jam and break the log jam. So if the problem is parking, and that's what we're hearing, break the log jam.
It's very...
Enough?
Norm's been waiting and waiting, so he's like so eager, and I'm...
So, like what people have been saying, so to me, my opinion is we need to maintain the parking in the uplands. I know the harbor master building needs to be done, I agree that should go up there, but the parking needs to look at that contract we signed with the state. I signed it, so I know we have to maintain a lot of parking. And if you put those buildings in there, we're not going to maintain that parking. We're going to be doing something with that contract. So that'd be something we really need to look at. And something that I was saying about building heights, if you do go up there, I know planning and zoning did set a height limit for the uplands. that was passed a while back, a couple years back, so just like. It's the same as what you have now, down in Harbor, on the other lease sites.
Not, so, Madam
City manager has input.
Very grateful and excited and happy for all the comments. As I said earlier, we're really excited that this is just the start of the plan. So it's the start of the conversation with the public, and we're looking forward to having R&M come in, hear more, conduct this. You know, one of the big things about the plan that we had in place is that the funds that we utilize for the project entirely cannot even pay for those lease spaces. Those would have to be paid for by themselves, and the long-term plan and vision was to do an RFP process where people would have to come in and say what they were going to build down there, score that against what's already in the area, have council and PACAB create parameters for what that would look like. So it would all be very well intended and informed. But that being said, we'll be moving forward and having continued public meetings. PACAB will hear a full presentation on this plan at their next meeting, and we'll have R&M in, I believe R&M will be attending that. If not, we'll have them come to a future meeting before we bring forward that full plan, so that this can all be heard and digested, and we can move forward well and informed. But just to clarify, one of the big things that we were intending with those lease sites, since they can't be funded by the bond payment that we used, it would be an entirely separate process in itself and not in the R&M decides down the road. So we can always adjust and move forward.
Just information. Anything else from council? This has been productive and we've heard from people. And Casey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does somebody know how many parking spots we currently have up there? I know in the R&M design, it outlines what they have built into their plan, but do we know what we currently have up there?
So I know Jason has been working on that and working on a comparison, and we'll present that at the PACAB meeting. So I didn't bring that information forward tonight, not expecting that the conversation would be heavily focused on that, but after that PACAB meeting next week, we'll have that. Yeah.
Thank you.
But now we know a focus too, and this is a concern that I hear many times a day.
Yes, I mean, it really isn't a plan if people park where they park, so, and, pretty crowded.
We could have lines down there.
From an aerial photograph, from I guess a satellite, there are 192 vehicles parked, and R&M's is 40% less than that, 50% less than that.
Well, we've been told that organizing it and paving striping will help, but it's not, this is bigger than that. We realize that. So, we're getting down there. Any other comments? Tony, do you have anything you want to add in here? You've been sitting pretty quiet.
I have another notebook full of notes, and I do appreciate everyone taking the time to reach out and voice their concerns. My door is always open for any of your concerns, and if you want to get together, I would strongly encourage you to come in and talk about that. For next year's plan, unfortunately, that was already set in place before you guys had those talks of coming in and using the facility. We're happy to have you. We want to see that work out, and we'll do whatever we can to build that relationship with you guys. And thank you, Andy, for coming over. You've been a dream to work with. It's on record. I don't know if believe me if I said it to their face, but I said it to the world.
One last quick thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the importance of diversity within our fishing industry. I always say, for the sports guys or those that are self-guided, they take people to the fish, but we bring, as commercial fishers, fish to the people. And we're the ones that supply all the restaurants and feed the people that come and visit. And we provide a lot of interesting opportunities for questions, and people from outside like coming down to the boats and seeing that activity going on. So there's value in that also. And so I just wanted to encourage you again to try to look at those different options to the various options that we can accommodate the commercial.
Hey, thank you. Yes, Tony.
And I just want to finish up also, the next PACAB meeting is geared towards that, like City Manager Swenson said, towards that discussion on that uplands parking and layout, and strongly encourage everyone to come and listen to that. It might help fill in the blanks on how we came up with that number.
What's the date?
Next Wednesday,
18th.
the 18th.
This, not
No, it's the third.
Not the 18th?
2 days from now, but
18th.
the 18th.
So I was wrong, it's not next week, it's Wednesday, the 18th,
Thank you.
at noon, in this room.
And there's still, well, presumably there will be one seat
Wednesday, the 18th?
available after tonight's council meeting still, so this is looks like a fun-filled group, and encourage people to apply. Any last words? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn us at 6:45. Council will be meeting right at 7.